Hi, my name is Leah Day, and welcome to this video for the Dancing Butterfly Quilt. Today I want to share with you some machine settings and different tips for getting started with free motion. Free motion quilting is definitely something, if you've never done it before, it definitely feels a little weird and a little out of control. So I definitely want to help you out getting started so you understand the settings on your machine, some tools to use, and really how to jump right in with both feet. Let's get on the machine and I can share all of this with you today. So here's the machine I'm planning to use for this quilt. This is the Juki TL 2010Q, and this is a semi-industrial lock stitch machine, which means that the needle only goes up and down. But really, any machine will work for free motion. I particularly like this one because it's a high-speed machine and it has a very solid stitch, and it's just really powerful. And it also has a nice amount of space. It's got about 9 inches between the back of the machine and the needle, and the most important feature I love is that this area is nice and open. Before I was using the machine, I had a very bulky front, and I realized that I was really bending my body over and kind of craning my neck to see under that area. And so this open space really allows me to see the needle without straining my body, without straining my neck. So it's really, really important. Okay, settings. Feed dogs are probably the most confusing thing for free motion quilting. They are the little teeth right here on your machine that typically feed fabric forward. Let me zoom in on them. So those are feed dogs, and when you're doing anything else, sewing, applique, you're generally feeding the fabric forward through the machine, and those little teeth move up and down and feed that fabric through. Well, for free motion quilting, we want to be able to move our quilt in all directions. We don't want it to just push forward, right? So most directions will include the step to drop your feed dogs. Personally, I don't think that that is a very good idea. Most of the machines that I have used don't like to drop the feed dogs, and the reason is there's so many different gears, there's so much engineering goes into the timing of the machine and making that work with the bobbin case. I feel that when you drop the feed dogs, something in that timing and working just gets thrown off, and my stitches don't look as good. I've tested this across many different machines. A handful I've wanted to drop the feed dogs, but for most of them I don't need to. And I think that's really important for you to understand that you don't have to drop your feed dogs. You need to test this and see which way works for you. Most machines can drop. Here's a little lever to drop the feed dogs on my machine. If your machine doesn't allow the feed dogs to be dropped, don't worry about it. You can still probably free motion quilt with it. So what if you're leaving your feed dogs up? What do? Well, you come over here and set your stitch length, that's the length of the stitches, to 0. And when you do that, the feed dogs are going to continue to move up and down whenever you hit the gas and go forward, or when you rotate your hand wheel. The feed dogs will continue to move up and down, but they will not actually feed forward. They will not push against you and feed your quilt through the machine. The other key that really affects your ability to free motion quilt is your free motion quilting foot. This is a darning foot. I'll drop mine down. The one that comes on this machine, I've actually modified this. I've broken open the toe and I've made some modifications to the top. And this is something that I think is really key and important. You have to make the foot you're using work for you. And you can find another video in this pattern for breaking your foot and adjusting it to make it fit your machine. That's really, really important. Even if you're not using this particular machine, there are generic feet that you can get. We actually carry these generic high shank, low shank, and these fit with universal machines that fit high shank, low shank machines. You can get this. It's a cheap foot. You can break it, adjust it, and make sure that it fits your machines just exactly right for the project that you're working on, and that's really important too. So understand, you don't have to drop the feed dogs if you don't want to. If it doesn't work for your machine well, set your stitch length to 0. That's all you have to do. The feed dogs will only move up and down. They will not feed the quilt forward. Okay, so a few other things that you will see me using in every video. I cover my machine bed with this. This is a Queen Supreme slider. And what this is basically a Teflon sheet very slippery and slick, and it makes my quilt move so much easier on the machine. I love this because, well, for one thing, it is another barrier between the feed dogs and the quilt, but really the main point of this is that it is helping the quilt move and glide and slide more evenly and easily. You might be wondering about the feed dogs kind of chewing up the slider. Well, yes, this area does kind of get chewed up a little bit with time, but I've used, my average slider lasts more than a year, so this area really doesn't get damaged badly, certainly not enough that you can't use it. The feed dogs are moving still when you leave them up, but so long as you set your stitch length to 0, they're not going to damage your slider. Okay, a few other things that I'm using. I am also using a little genie in my bobbin case. And this is basically just a washer. It's just a Teflon washer, goes inside the bobbin case. And if there's a spring or anything, I just leave it in the bobbin case and I put the washer on top. And then I wind my bobbin just like normal. I pop this in the bobbin case. So I like this. It helps to kind of fill in that little extra rattly space that's inside the bobbin case. It helps the bobbin thread to glide and slide as smoothly as the top thread, and it also prevents backlash. That's when your bobbin's spinning and then you hear like a jerk and a bad sound and your bobbin spins basically so fast that it spins backwards. The bobbin washers really stop that from happening, so that's why I use them. Okay, one last tool that I'm always wearing in my videos, and that is gloves. I can't get a grip even on a 10-inch block without gloves on my hands. So I use these Machinegger's gloves. What I love about them is they're double-sided. They have grip all the way around the finger. So when you wear out one side, just switch hands and you'll be able to wear out the other side. So that's kind of a cool feature. Even the nylon, this is a very lightweight nylon, but even the palm is kind of slightly grippy. So it really helps you get a grip and control that quilt, be able to move it and manipulate it exactly where you want it. So control is really one of those things that we struggle with free motion quilting. The gloves certainly help, but if you get started on your machine and you're free motion quilting and you just feel like you can't control anything, well, do understand that that's perfectly normal. This is using your machine in a totally different way. You're not letting those feed dogs do the work for you. You are doing the work. You are creating the stitch by the movement of your hands and the speed of your machine. So the stitch length is entirely created by your movement and your control over the machine speed. So understand that this is going to take some time and some practice to get used to. It's definitely something that you want to make an effort to practice every single day. Spend time tracing the designs, spend time practicing them on scrap fabric. It's not something that I learned overnight, it's not something that you will learn overnight, but definitely working together, you will master free motion quilting by the end of this project. In the next video, I'm going to share with you some ugly stitches. Basically, what you can expect whenever you get started free motion quilting. It can be a little scary, but don't worry, I'll help you troubleshoot through all of these issues so you understand what's going on and how to improve. Until next time, let's go quilt.